All right. So I'm going to just basically do this from scratch so we can see how we start. I'm going to create a new project and create the project. Okay, so I got a blank project and I'm just going to do a quick add a couple fields because this is this doesn't have to be too extensive for you to understand conceptually how to manage this module. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the name of this instrument, and I'll just call it demographics and save it. Okay, so I'm going to add two fields here. Text box for first name. Oops. And variable name. And field for last name. Actually, I'll add one more field just so that you can, I'll add an option, radio button, single answer, call it gender. All right. I think this is enough for this particular demonstration. We don't want to take too long. So I want to be able to display these labels to someone who is Spanish speaking and have them show up, but be able to collect the information under this one variable. So in the past, when we first started, what we would do is we would maybe create a field for English and a field for Spanish. People would select the language with an option button or drop down or whatever, and the branching logic would cause the correct language to be displayed. So, you know, that worked, but unfortunately we were holding the data in two different variables. So you'd have to like merge them at some point to do analysis. So that was a little clunky, but that was early days. And then sometimes people would just type the Spanish below the English, which also could get hairy, especially if you were working with a matrix or something like that. And, you know, it just got to be a mess because there's too much text in there. So they developed the multilingual module, which is just really a blessing for if you want to collect data for different languages. So everybody should be able to enable this. You click on the enable a module and we'll look for multilingual, just type in part of it and we'll enable this. All right, so now we have the multilingual module and we're going to look at the configuration option first. And the only thing in this demonstration that you need to know is what the variable name is for this module. And I'll show you why in a second. So languages is what you need to know. That's what they're calling the variable that will be used to determine whether you're going to see one language or another. Okay, so I'm just going to save this. Let me go back to my designer now and my instrument. As soon as you do this, you will see instructions here that tell you everything you need to know about how to set up the multilingual module and how to make it work on your instrument. But we're going to show you anyway. So the first thing I want to do is I need to add a field with that variable name and my options. So I'm going to start here. It needs to be a multiple choice radio button, and I can put a label on it or not. My choices here will be English and Spanish. And here's where I was telling you, you need to make sure that you choose the variable name that you have in the configuration. If for some reason you want to change the variable name in the configuration, you just have to make sure it matches here. So we'll just say select language and save this, just so that you know what we're doing here. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing you need to do here is in this action tag here, notice it already is starting to look different. In this action tag, you want to add @hidden. If you look in your action tags, you'll be able to just click on this to add it, and it will show up here, and you'll save it. Okay. Once you do that, then you need to make sure that you refresh your page. This is key and something most people forget, and then they don't understand why the module is not working quite the way they thought it would. As soon as you do this, you sort of get confirmation because your instructions now have been minimized into this question mark. So you can always click on the question and recover it. Just click on it and it'll go back to the question. But if you need help, click on your little help question mark and it will tell you what to do. So I'm going to open my first name variable. And now we're going to see that we can put our labels in, which is equivalent to the question, in different language. So I'm going to put first name, and then Spanish, and we'll save it. For last name, I'm going to go ahead and enter last name and Spanish. Okay. And then gender, where we have option buttons, notice that you can grab the question. So here is gender, and we'll put the Spanish in here. And then you have your options here. So I have male and female. Now I need my Spanish. And Spanish for female. And save it. Okay, so it doesn't look any different. It's not like you can see that you've done anything, but I'm going to do one other thing here. I'm going to go to my project setup and enable surveys. so that we can see this just as a data entry form and as a survey. So I'll enable that and then go to my designer, enable this instrument, and just save the changes. Okay, so now I forgot this as a survey. So I'm going to go to my add edit records, just add a record, and this is what you would see if you were doing data entry in just regular data entry into REDCap. So it's showing Spanish here by default, and now you can see when I click on English, it switches everything to the correct language. All right, so if I was in a survey and I open my public survey, here are my options. If I select English, it will show that. And if I click on the button, it will translate everything to Spanish. Now, note that you have to do the translations. They aren't done for you, but you know, you can do all of this with the multilingual module. Just one more thing to point out with the external module and multilingual. There are other translations that you can do. One of the big ones for those who do use e-consent, you can change the language and what is said for the e-consent, put in what the Spanish is. And as you see, you can do save and return later and return pages, stop survey. So there's all kinds of different translations that you can do. Now, I did English and Spanish, but you're not really limited to the number of languages that you use. If I was to come back into my example here, I could just as easily have added French. As soon as I click out of here, I've got that, save it. And now remember, you need to go ahead and refresh your page. And now if I look at first name, I've got my French option too. So all of this is so that you can have a language control on a variable level basis, and the user will be able to enter their data in a language that's comfortable to them, and they can switch back and forth if that's easiest for them. So that's the multilingual module, and I just wanted again to point that out so that we can get it on tape and then post it for those people who are new to using it.